There was a time when fruit trees filled backyards instead of supermarket shelves. When families grew, harvested, and preserved their own fruit, passing the knowledge down through generations, the way other families passed down names. Then, modern agriculture arrived with its efficiency and its uniformity, and quietly, without announcement, most of those fruits disappeared. Not from the earth, from our tables, our gardens, and eventually our memory. Today at EverGreen Home Living, we are rediscovering 20 incredible fruits that have nearly vanished from modern life. Fruits your grandparents loved, traded, preserved, and waited for all year. Fruits with flavors so distinctive that once you know them, the produce aisle will never look quite the same again. Item 1. At the very beginning of our journey stands North America's largest native fruit. One so extraordinary, so creamy, and so completely absent from commercial shelves that most people living within walking distance of a wild patch have never tasted one. The pawpaw grows in river bottoms and woodland hollows from Nebraska to the Atlantic, ripening each September into clusters of green-skinned fruits with custard flesh that tastes simultaneously of banana, mango, and vanilla, a flavor so tropical it seems impossible in the American Midwest. Lewis and Clark survived on it. George Washington ate it for dessert. Then commercial agriculture rejected it entirely because it bruises within days of ripening and refuses every condition a supply chain requires. Farmers markets that carry pawpaws in September sell out within the first Rausu hour every year to customers who cannot believe what they have been missing. Item 2. Mayhaw deep in the swampy bayous and wetlands of the American South, a small crimson fruit drops into the water each April during a window so brief it feels almost cruel. The mayhaw grows on thorned trees at the edges of Louisiana's, Georgia, and Texas waterways, traditionally harvested by boat, skimmed from the water's surface at dawn before the current carries it away. The berry itself is intensely tart and aromatic, somewhere between a crabapple and a cranberry. What it makes is the point. Mayhaw jelly is one of the great regional condiments of the South, a translucent rose gold preserved with a flavor so tied to its place and season that people who grew up with it describe it not as food but as memory. Outside the Deep South, almost no one has heard of it. Item 3. Quince. Long before the apple dominated the orchard, the quince held a place of honor in gardens and kitchens across the entire temperate world. Referenced in Sumerian texts, celebrated by ancient Greeks, carried by Roman legions, the quince was one of civilization's foundational fruits. Raw, it is hard and astringent. But cooked, something transformative happens. The flesh turns silky and golden rose, and the flavor opens into a complex, floral, honeyed depth that no apple or pear can approach. Quince paste, membrillo, remains the essential partner to manchego cheese across Spain. Quince jam anchors the Turkish breakfast table. Heritage orchardists growing quince today report buyers returning every single season for a product so distinctive there is simply nothing else like it. Item 4. Medlar. Some fruits vanished so completely that encountering them today feels like finding a page torn from a medieval manuscript. The medlar, small, russet brown, and requiring a process called bledding before it is edible, was growing in English cottage gardens and French monastery orchards for over 1,000 years before it quietly disappeared. Bledding allows the hard, astringent flesh to soften into a brown, spoonable paste tasting of spiced apple butter, dates, and cinnamon combined. Chaucer wrote about it. Shakespeare mentioned it. The Victorians grew it in every serious kitchen garden. By the 1950s, it had nearly vanished entirely. Specialist nurseries across Britain and the northeastern United States are now rebuilding interest among home orchardists who have tasted it once and found the experience impossible to forget. Item 5. Mulberry. The mulberry's disappearance is baffling because nothing about it justifies absence. It grows vigorously on trees that ask almost nothing from the gardener. It fruits abundantly for trees known to produce for centuries. And the fruit, deep purple-black, jammy, sweet with a thread of tartness, is among the most immediately loved of all fruits by anyone who has tasted it fresh from the tree. The problem is singular. Fresh mulberries last 48 hours before they are inedible. They bleed purple through any packaging. They cannot be transported commercially, and so they vanished. Ancient mulberry trees still survive in country house gardens across Britain. Native red mulberry trees grow along roadsides in America, unrecognized. A tree planted today may still be fruiting abundantly 150 years from now. Item 6. Nanking Cherry. From the abundant generosity of the mulberry, we turn to a modest shrub that earned its place in pioneer gardens through the kind of cheerful productivity that makes a gardener genuinely grateful every time it fruits. The Nanking cherry produces clusters of small, bright red berries in early summer, sometimes weeks before any other fruit is ready, with a fresh, tart, sweet flavor that disappears entirely from the bush before the gardener has thought about preservation. Cold hardy enough to survive winters that killed every other fruit tree on the property, it was a lifeline for homesteaders across the American plains and Canadian prairies. Commercial agriculture passed it by because it is too small and too tart for supermarket shelves. In a backyard, it is one of the most rewarding things you can grow. Item 7. Elderberry deep in the hedgerows that once lined every country lane in rural Britain and northern Europe, a shrub fruited so reliably that country people built an entire medicine chest around it. Elderberry has become one of the fastest-selling botanical supplements in the natural health market, with clinical trials documenting measurable reductions in cold and flu duration. The dark berries, which must be cooked before eating, produce extraordinary cordials, wines, syrups, and preserves with a flavor simultaneously fruity, earthy, and floral. Elderflower cordial, made from the creamy spring blooms, now appears on Michelin-starred menus. The elderberry syrup selling for $18 a bottle at the health food store is made from the same plant fruiting freely along fence lines and roadsides across the temperate world, available to anyone willing to plant one. Item 8. Gooseberry. Some fruits were not forgotten everywhere, only here. The gooseberry never went anywhere in Britain, Scandinavia, or Northern Europe, where it remains a fixture of cottage gardens and summer dessert menus. In America, federal restrictions on ribes cultivation, imposed in the early 20th century to protect white pine forests from blister rust, effectively erased it from the cultural food memory of an entire country. What was lost is a flavor unlike anything else, sharp and wine-like when underripe, deepening to a rich, jammy sweetness when fully ripe, with an aromatic quality that transfers magnificently to fools, crumbles, and jams. Gooseberry fool, fruit folded into cream, is one of the oldest English desserts still made today. Most of those state bans have since been lifted. The plants are available. Almost no one knows. Item 9. Damson. From the sharp delight of gooseberry, we step into darker territory, a small, ink-dark plum with a flavor so intensely itself that the first encounter either converts you permanently or sends you looking for something sweeter. The damson, thought to have originated in Damascus and spread across Europe by the Romans, is too tart to eat raw and possessed of a stone-to-flesh ratio that makes fresh eating impractical. But preserved, it is transformative. Damson jam is among the deepest, most complex fruit preserves ever made. Dark as midnight, with an earthy, brooding character that wine writers describe in the vocabulary of Burgundy. Damson gin, steeped through autumn and winter in the English Lake District, is perhaps the finest fruit liqueur produced anywhere. The damson tree is hardy, disease-resistant, and asks almost nothing from the gardener who plants it. Item 10. Crabapple. Before the modern orchard replaced diversity with a handful of commercial varieties, the crabapple held the hedge, marked the field boundary, and supplied the essential acidic element that made every fruit preserve set and every country cider ferment correctly. The crabapple is not an apple that failed. It is an apple that was never trying to be eaten raw, and it succeeds magnificently at everything it was designed for. Cooked with sugar, it produces the most naturally pectin-rich, perfectly flavored jelly available from any fruit. Pressed alongside cultivated apples, it provides the tannins and acidity that give cider genuine character. Heritage varieties with names like John Downey and Golden Hornet carry more flavor in a single berry than most commercial fruit carries in a full basket. The ornamental tree in your street is fruiting every autumn for no one. Item 11. Juneberry. High along the woodland edges and planted on every suburban street corner in the upper Midwest. The Juneberry, also called serviceberry or Saskatoon, is one of the most completely overlooked food plants in North American landscaping. Its fruit, ripening in June, is sweet, soft, and deeply colored with a subtle nuttiness that makes it the closest thing in the temperate world to a blueberry crossed with an almond. Indigenous peoples across the continent relied on Juneberries as a primary summer fruit, drying them for winter provisions and incorporating them into pemmican. In Canadian prairie provinces, Saskatoon cultivation is a serious agricultural industry. In the United States, the berries fall from municipal plantings every June and rot, ignored, on sidewalks beneath the feet of people reaching for imported blueberries. Item 12. Sand plum. From the woodland edges, we travel south into the sun-baked sandy soils of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, where a sprawling thorn plum thicket fruits each summer with small, intensely flavored fruit that no cultivated plum can replicate. The Chickasaw plum, or sand plum, is too small for commercial fresh sale and too thorny to harvest mechanically. These are exactly the characteristics that give it its flavor and its meaning. Sand plum jelly is a fiercely guarded regional treasure across the Southern Plains, made each summer by families who have been doing it the same way for generations. The jars lined up on shelves each July contain something no food company will ever successfully industrialize. And that fact is, from every perspective that matters, entirely good news. Item 13. Buffaloberry. Across the shortgrass prairies and open river valleys of the American and Canadian West, the silver buffaloberry fruited abundantly enough to sustain entire plains, civilizations, and remains, today, almost entirely unknown outside the indigenous communities that maintained the knowledge of it. The berries are intensely tart raw, softening after the first hard frost into something pleasantly complex. Traditionally whipped into a foam and sweetened into a dessert called Indian ice cream, they were served at ceremonies and celebrations as a luxury food across multiple tribal nations. Nutritionally extraordinary, containing lycopene levels that exceed tomatoes significantly. The buffaloberry also fixes nitrogen in the soil, improving degraded prairie land as it grows. It is available from native plant nurseries and asks only to be recognized for what it has always been. Item 14. Loquat. From the windswept prairies, we cross to the gardens of the American South and West coast, where an evergreen tree with glossy leaves ripens clusters of golden-orange fruit in late winter and early spring when almost nothing else is fruiting, and produces a harvest so abundant that most owners give the fruit away or let it fall entirely uneaten. The loquat arrived from China and Japan in the 19th century, was planted enthusiastically as an ornamental, and has been fruiting unrecognized ever since. The flavor surprises everyone who encounters it, aromatic and tropical, with notes of apricot, citrus, and something floral that has no exact Western reference. A single mature tree in California or Florida produces 50 to 100 pounds annually. Street foraging communities in Los Angeles have made it one of their primary spring finds. Item 15. Jujube. In the ancient orchards of the Middle East and across northern China, the jujube has been cultivated for over 4,000 years with a reverence that places it alongside rice and ginger as a fundamental ingredient of East Asian culinary tradition. Fresh jujubes are crisp and apple-like with a clean, honeyed sweetness. Dried, they become chewy and date-like with a concentrated caramel depth that makes them one of the most satisfying dried fruits anywhere. Vitamin C levels in fresh jujubes rival citrus. The tree is drought-tolerant, heat-loving, and almost impervious to the disease pressures that plague conventional fruit trees. Jujube cultivation is expanding in California, Texas, and Arizona. In communities that know what to do with the fruit, the tree is treated as an inheritance. In most American gardens, it remains entirely unrecognized. Item 16. Aronia chokeberry. From the sweetness of jujube, we step back into the native forests and wetlands of eastern North America, where a shrub has been producing one of the most nutritionally extraordinary fruits on the continent for centuries, largely ignored until European cultivation brought it back across the Atlantic as a health phenomenon. Aronia berries contain among the highest concentrations of anthocyanins ever measured in any fruit. Compounds linked in hundreds of studies to cardiovascular protection and anti-inflammatory activity. The raw berry is intensely astringent, but in juice, wine, and jam it becomes dark, complex, and wine-like. Poland and the Baltic states now cultivate it on a commercial scale that dwarfs North American production. For a fruit that is native to North America, it grows in wetlands and woodland edges across its natural range, available from any native plant nursery. Item 17. Blackcurrant. There is a gap in the American fruit world so fundamental it requires a moment to appreciate. In Britain, Scandinavia, and across Northern Europe, the blackcurrant is a fruit of daily taken-for-granted presence. In cordials, jams, desserts, and the Ribena every British child has been drinking since 1938. In the United States, most people under 40 have never tasted one. The same federal blister rust restrictions that suppressed gooseberries effectively erased blackcurrants from American food culture for generations. What was lost is extraordinary, a berry containing 4 times the vitamin C of oranges, with a flavor so bold, so deep, and so intensely itself that it rewrites every expectation of what a small fruit is capable of. The bans are largely lifted, resistant varieties exist, the plants are available, the flavor is waiting. Item 18. Sorb Apple. Among the rarest and most ancient of European cultivated fruits is one so completely vanished that most specialist nurseries do not carry it, and the trees that survive do so in old monastery gardens and heritage orchards maintained by people who understood what they had and refused to cut it down. The Sorb Apple, fruit of the service tree, was a staple of European orchards from classical antiquity through the medieval period, valued for ripening in autumn and sweetening through winter storage into something rich, winey, and date-like. It must be bledded before eating, like Medlar, and rewards the patience with a flavor that wine writers compare to aged perry. A service tree planted today may still fruit 2 centuries from now. Planting one is participation in a living history that very few people alive today are part of. Item 19. Buffaloberry. As our journey nears its end, we return to the American prairie, where a native shrub announces itself before you see it. The buffaloberry, or clove currant, opens flowers in early May that emit the most intensely clove-scented perfume of any plant in the temperate world, carrying on still mornings for considerable distance. The fruit is a mild, sweet black currant, more approachable raw than its European cousin, gentle enough to eat directly from the bush, fragrant and pleasant in jam with none of the bold tannic punch of European blackcurrant. It escaped the full force of federal currant restrictions and survives in native plant collections and prairie restoration plantings across the Midwest. It makes one of the most ornamentally and culinarily rewarding shrubs a prairie garden can contain. Fragrant in spring, fruitful in summer, entirely at home. Item 20. Mayapple. Our journey ends in the dappled shade of an eastern woodland, where, if you know to look beneath the broad umbrella-like leaves carpeting the forest floor each spring, you find in late summer a fruit that most people have walked past without noticing their entire lives. Mayapple covers the woodland understory across the eastern United States, from Canada to Florida. Almost everyone who has spent time in eastern forests knows the plant. Almost no one knows it fruits. The ripe berry, soft, fragrant, and golden yellow in August and September, is the only edible part of an otherwise toxic plant, with a tropical guava-like sweetness that indigenous peoples across the eastern woodlands treasured as a seasonal delicacy. It is the ending this journey deserves. The most extraordinary flavors are often not the most expensive ones. They are the ones growing quietly in places we have always been, waiting for us to remember how to see them. The 20 fruits in this journey share one thing no commercial food system ever valued: they each belong somewhere. To a specific season, a specific landscape, a specific set of hands that knew when to pick them. The food system that replaced them was built on efficiency. Same fruit, every week, every store, every year. What it traded away was the entire relationship between a place and what it grows. Every one of these fruits is still out there. Many are growing in places you can reach today. The knowledge of how to find them, grow them, and use them is still available. Which of these fruits surprised you most? Are any already growing near you? Tell us in the comments below. If this journey moved you to plant something new, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who thinks modern fruit begins and ends at the supermarket. This is EverGreen Home Living signing off. Word count 2,450 words, estimated runtime 17-18 minutes.